Hi, friends. This is Cheryl from Tutoring with Cheryl and the Tech Coach for Tutors. And today, Tina McMillan from Atypical Tutors and I are talking to you all about how to unplug your kids. At the Student Success Squad, we are committed to bringing information that is timely and helpful for parents and educators. If you like this recording, be sure to like and subscribe. Now sit back, listen, grab your notebook, take a few notes, and try a few things, and let us know what you think in the comments.
Oh, yes. Hey, everybody. It's Tina McMillan with Atypical Tutors and my awesome friend Cheryl with Tutoring with Cheryl. And she has other channels too, Tech for Tutors and amazing stuff. And we're doing our sixth podcast. I can't believe it. We've done six so far. And today's topic, because it's kind of come up in a lot of conversations with my clients, and I'm sure with Cheryl's as well, how to unplug our kids from technology, which is sometimes is great technology, other times not so much. It can be more of a distraction and a time filler or a time waster, even, dare I say. So, yeah, welcome, Cheryl. Welcome. Thanks for letting me host today. I hope I don't mess it up too badly.
You won't. You won't. And we just said right before we push the record button, we can do hard things. And this is hard. I mean, here's the thing. We're both educators and we work with children, but what we're seeing is some behaviors that maybe aren't super pleasant. And if we're seeing them with our tutoring clients, we know they're happening in the classroom. We both were in classrooms recently as educators and have left that field, and we see the importance of really talking about what is this technology doing to our kids. Now, here's the thing. I am the tech hub for tutors, and I use technology in my tutoring. And so I don't want people to think that I'm, going against my belief that technology can be a good thing. But I think what you and I are really going to dig into is the fact that overuse of anything is bad. Tina, I love potato chips. Like, I love them. If they're in my house, I'm going to eat them. Ask my kids. My students knew that. They would buy me potato chips for gifts. It's not a good thing. Some of us just need to be told no. And it's a little bit like that with technology. So you have put together a wonderful slideshow, and I think we'll start right there with the slideshow, and then we'll just kind of talk things through. And we also want to let you know, while Tina is pulling that up, that we found some great resources. And so those resources will be available. If you just push the button that says slideshow up in the upper right hand corner, and we should be good to go.
Oh,
There we
sorry.
go. That's
Sorry.
okay. That's
Here's my
okay.
thumbnail. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of my thumbnail that I made
You
it.
should be. You did great. And we both have a different, I put my thumbnail at the bottom so that I'm going to use on the upload. So that's great. Canva's fun, but this is not about Canva. This is how to unplug our kids.
Exactly. And I've got about 10 strategies. I've done some research to kind of consolidate a lot of different resources that I used, and I'll add them onto the description at the end too. How to unplug our kids, 10 strategies to reduce screen time without tears, because that's the big thing. What I'm noticing, and maybe you as well, and the parents that are listening also are noticing big reactions to when you say, okay, it's time to turn that off now. And then there's a lot of pushback, and it can actually get kind of violent sometimes and get very aggressive. So that's what kind of scares me about how the
Yes.
effect, what's really happening to our kids.
Yes, and I would completely agree with you. And so, we're thinking about who's really in charge of these devices. Our kids are little. Our kids aren't old enough to make these decisions. We're buying them a very powerful tool and thinking that they can handle it, but they have the world at their disposal. And so I think, we have to be very careful. We don't know what they're watching. I mean, I've been in situations where little kids, the parents are like, yeah, they're just sitting there watching YouTube, like 2 and 3 year olds. And there are no limits to what they can see on YouTube. So if they click the wrong button, they could really be watching violence or, different things that are not age appropriate, and hearing, words and things that just are not appropriate. And it's going to, every parent is going to run this the way that they want to run it. And I'm just as guilty as the next, of eventually I had to buy my kids a cell phone. My older daughter, she got the old flip phone, and you had to, ooh, letter A, letter C, A, B, C, you know, that's was her technology. But by the time our third child had one, she had a smartphone and had access to the world, and it was a little unnerving. And, you know, then you get into the cyberbullying and all of that stuff that goes along with it. So I think
Yeah.
we need to talk about why this is happening. Don't you think we should talk about why it's happening?
Absolutely. So just my screen. I can't see everything on my screen because I put the images and stuff. But if you could read the first one, first and second, I
Yeah.
can't read it all.
Yeah,
It's covered by my screen here.
I can actually go through this and then we'll
Yes.
just talk through it. So,
Thank you.
okay, so kids are being exposed to screen time at school, at their home, in their social lives, okay? Do not think that if your child doesn't have a phone that they're not being exposed to this, okay? Their friends have one. They're looking at it on the school bus, they're seeing it at the lunchroom table, whatever. You know, they're going to see it. They're going to see it. And the screens are going to be triggering the dopamine in their brain. So it's like this reward. So how many of you out there play games on your phone? Tina, do you play a game on your phone or tablet? Yeah, I
Guilty.
do.
Guilty
Yeah.
as charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself going, wow, I just spent the last half hour on this, and where'd that half hour go?
Absolutely. And I don't have just one game. I have probably five.
I
So
do that too. I do that too. And so we're getting this reward as we're going through and playing the game, and it's increasing the dopamine, our good hormone, our good feeling hormone, and our brain keeps longing for more and more. We want that dopamine rush. And it was really interesting because as I was doing this research, I was not only reading some articles, but I was watching some videos that were created by other professionals who had, you know, doctors, physicians, whatever. And they were talking about this, and it's just as hard to stop this as it would be if you had an alcohol or a drug addiction. I mean, it's a big problem. So it is almost impossible to stop this addiction for some people. And our children's brains, they're not ready for this, and they're going to struggle to stop playing. And so it's going to be really important that we're going to monitor what they're doing and limit their time. Research shows that the kids' brains shrink or lose tissue in the areas of the brain that involve planning. And we just talked about this ourselves. We'll get to that in a minute. Planning, organization, suppressing inappropriate responses to stimuli or stimuli, and keeps them from being empathetic. Oh boy, I saw that a lot in my classroom. And there is evidence that they cannot multitask and thus struggle to complete the tasks when their screens are on. And so it's this dependence on screens is increasing anxiety, depression, and adding to substance abuse issues. Because if they can't have their phone or their tablet, they're going to find something else that gives them that rush. So let's back up just a little bit, because before we hit the record button, how many times did I tell you I had to look at this meeting time to confirm it?
I think you said 3.
And did I tell you why I had to do that?
Yeah, because you weren't sure. You wanted to remind yourself of it
Yeah,
happening because you were afraid you were going to forget it.
right. And had I just physically picked up a pen and paper and written it down, I probably would have remembered it.
Yeah,
And
well,
so
that's
it's
and
because I'm
we're
using a completely different part of my brain when I'm writing it down.
absolutely. And we were talking about this as well, that when that's how I would learn is I would have to write it down and then it was cemented into my brain. And I'm not doing that as much as I used to. So, you know, whether I attribute it to age or whatever, but I'm not remembering things like I used to. But I think it's because I'm not writing things down as much as I used to. And I'm going to test myself. I'm going to start doing that and see if I notice a difference.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of that. I do put my lesson plans for my students on paper, and that helps me tremendously. Even though I use Google Classroom, I plan it on a sheet of paper, and then I put it in any links and things that I need in there. So I'm even finding that I have to just go back to old school stuff. Like I just need to hey, let's go back to the days where all we had were that paper and pencil.
Right.
So, there was something else I was gonna, suppressing inappropriate responses to stimuli. You know, that kid who's in the classroom who can't make that transition from tablet time to instructional time, or maybe there are no tablets in the classroom and they're just frustrated because school isn't as exciting as they want it to be. I'm sorry, I cannot compete with your phone, your tablet, your videos. I cannot compete with that. But you are not in school for entertainment. You're in school to learn. And that was always something that I had to make. I had to say specifically to my fifth grade students, hey, I'll make it as fun as I can, but at some point you're just going to have to accept the fact that you have to learn this stuff because you're going to need the things that I'm teaching you.
That's a great point. And I love like how we backed up a little bit too and just struggle completing tasks when their screens are on because everyone thinks we can multitask, but really I don't think we can, not very well. If we're focusing on one thing at a time, we definitely have much better results. We think we can multitask because that's just kind of what the world we've created for ourselves. We think, oh, I've got 25 things to do in this next 30 minutes. So I can do at least 8 of them at a time and then I'll be done. But if you look back at how you completed them, I'm sure they weren't very well done, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I find that even at home with my husband, and I will be sitting in the same room. We're both on our phones. It's just the two of us now. And something will be on TV, and he's always like, how can you play that game? Because I have one game I play. It's just so stupid. It's just like a puzzle game. And I'm like, I think I am addicted to it. I can use that. I can say that. And but I'll be watching a show. So I'm like, put a couple blocks in place. And then I look up and I keep doing this. And he's like, how can you do that? I'm like, well, I don't know. I just can. But then I find myself watching that same show multiple times because I didn't absorb it. And honestly, do I need either one of them? I should be walking on my treadmill, people, or being outside in the sunshine.
Absolutely. And no, it's one more thing I wanted to mention before I change screens here is that suppressing inappropriate responses to stimuli. I love that because to me, my first thought goes to clients I've had and students I've worked with where it's time to put their device away and they get very aggressive towards their parents. And I can imagine it translates to the classroom as well. And I've heard of them, breaking furniture, because they've got so upset while they're playing a video game. I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah. And I mentioned the cyberbullying thing. I mean, and I've been out of the classroom now for 2 years, but that last year we had such a problem with these kids were on Instagram. I'm talking, I had 10, 11, and a few 12-year-olds, depending on where their birthdays ended up. And we were literally dealing with cyberbullying, things that were happening outside of the classroom that we had no control over, but we were dealing with the consequences of it in our classroom. And, parents think, oh, it's just Snapchat. Oh, it's just Instagram. Oh, it's just Facebook. It's the next new thing that's out there. And I just really want to caution you to be aware of what your kids are doing, log into their devices, check out, look and see what they're doing so that you're aware.
Exactly. And you want to reduce any outside threats because it's not like it's some strange person who was seen in the neighborhood. It's not that anymore. It's someone who lives in a foreign country, possibly. Do you know what I mean? You don't know where
Yes,
these threats are coming from and how many there are and how they're disguised. There's no way to know. And children can be very trusting because their brains aren't fully developed. And I even heard research, our brains don't develop until the age of 25. So they don't have a
right.
chance.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And, this is on topic, but a little bit off topic. But here in the States, we just saw a drastic reduction in our the kids' reading ability again. And I'm like, okay, so, there is something to this too much screen time. I mean, there's other things that are affecting this. Please don't think that that's the only thing that's happening, but it is something that is happening. And I think that we need to take charge of what's going on here. This is scary to me. Very, very
Yes.
frightening.
Absolutely. I'm just going to go on the next one here. So do we want to talk about any more reasons why, or let's see.
Well, I'm just thinking, this anxiety and depression and substance
Oh
abuse
gosh.
really is a thing. And, and not to wait to get help for your child. If your child's never had anxiety before and suddenly they're having anxiety attacks, or they've never been depressed before and now they're just, they can't even smile, don't think that they're going to outgrow that. There's something wrong.
Or
And
even, yeah, and also signs of aggression because they're just going to get bigger. That's why I tell
Mhm.
parents as well that you might 2 and 3, 4 years old, they're showing aggression, but as they get to their preteens and teens, if that continues, that's not going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really scary. It's really frightening. And so, I know parents and physicians and mental health professionals are all very aware of this, but let's just keep in mind that technology is great when it's used appropriately. But that your child really should not be on their devices all day. I don't care how old they are. Parents, educators, whoever's watching this, you should also not be on your device all of the time. It's not healthy for you. There's other things that we need to be doing with our minds and our bodies, and instead of just soaking up all of this, because we don't want that material in our heads, called our brain, to go to mush. So we need to be doing some other things. And that's probably, I should just have a little sign that says mushy brain or something like that.
I love it. I love it.
We
Can
don't,
we
we
use
don't
that
want
as an
mushy brain.
excuse? Oh, I mean, my brain's mushy right now. I can't answer that question.
Yeah. Well, and here's something else. We think about that social comparison that the kids are getting. And it's hard enough that they go to school and maybe see somebody who can outperform them on a skill or a test or an art project or athletic thing. They're getting even more of that when they're looking at the social media. So just putting limits on that, and then being really honest with your child that do not compare yourself to other person. You are perfect just the way you are. We love you just the way that you are. Let's celebrate the things that you are good at and really build them up at what they're good at. Because there's a lot of, like we said, the mental health issues. The kids might have problems with their sleep, their cognitive development issues that we were talking about. They might become so socially isolated that they don't want to spend time with anybody else because their phone or their iPad is all that they want. We are clearly seeing an academic decline on our nation's testing. I do feel like technology is a part of that puzzle. It is not the only part, but it plays a part. And then physical health concerns. If you look at the size of our children, their body mass now compared to what it was even, let's say, 10, 12 years ago, our children are definitely overweight. They're not exercising as much. I mean, you could use an app to help with that, but they can't just watch it. They sit there and watch, oh, wow, look at that person do that. Oh, that's really cool, but that's not going to help them. They have to actually do the exercise. So let's get into what can be done to manage that screen time.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention one more thing, just in terms of what the kids are seeing on their screens, let's say Instagram. They're seeing other people posting things that have been scripted, that have filters attached to them, and aren't necessarily representing that person's actual real life. So they're assuming what they're seeing is real, but they don't understand. Their brains aren't developed enough to understand and associate what is real and what's not real. So
Right.
they're being shown something, a standard that they can't possibly live up to because it's not a real standard.
Right. Right.
Very sad.
Okay, let's go ahead
Sorry.
and move on. So some ways to help our kids unplug. I'm going to have you go through this. And then if you want me to jump in with anything, I will certainly do that because you did a lot of research on how to get the kids unplugged. So go for it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Feel free to jump in anytime. And parents and teachers and tutors, if you're watching this, please send us any comments or questions or, strategies you've had that have worked or, that aren't on our list, because I only have 10. So I'm sure there's a lot more. So setting limits, obviously, time limits on how long you can use your device. I just remember when I was a kid back in the day, if we sat too close to the TV screen, we'd be told that our eyes are, you're going to mess up your vision. Now look at you, look at our phones. Our phones are so close to us right now. And also just a time limit. So, everyone needs time to get that dopamine. I don't want to tell them not to do that anymore. I just want to say you need to limit it so that they're experiencing the real world around them, not just what they see on their screen. Life is happening around them and they're maybe not aware of it. Creating a media plan. So that's going to be like a schedule kind of a thing where you're going to decide, when you're going to do this, and maybe as a also when you're not going to do this, what's acceptable. I know one example, some families, when they're having dinner at the table, I know, which is maybe not as common as it used to be, but whenever they're eating together, their phones go in a basket, nobody's on their phone. So they can at least have a conversation for that, 20, 30 minutes that it takes to eat something, maybe less. And then they can, interact. Oh, what'd you do today? Or, how's so-and-so doing? Or, oh, did you know this happened? And, they can get up to date on what's happening in their own lives that they might be missing out on, being a role model. We kind of mentioned this a little bit before, where, you have to people, do as I do, not as I say, kind of a thing. So I know we will both admitted we're on our phones, we have games, but we can say, okay, well, I've decided I'm not going to have 5 games on here. I'm gonna eliminate 2 of them. And I promise you, you
I
can check
don't
your
I
phone.
don't think you need to eliminate them, but I might set a timer for myself and use the technology to limit myself. And that's another strategy for parents. You might have that on here too.
Maybe I'm not, that could have been set limits. Actually, that would have been a good one for set limits for sure. So yeah, being a role model, just show them that you can do it and they can do it too, and hold each other accountable. Like even ourselves, they can hold us accountable as well. Planning outdoor activities, it's minus 24 where I am right now, a little chilly. So you got to dress up warm, and that's Celsius. I looked it up. It's actually minus 11 Fahrenheit, if that makes sense to you guys.
Well, it's 19 degrees Fahrenheit here, so we do have you beat.
There you go. That's plus 19.
Yeah, 19 Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Wow.
It's still freezing, but it's
Okay. Yeah, minus 24. It's pretty freaking
yeah.
cold. And it's
Mhm.
snowing. It looks beautiful. The trees are all white, covered in frost. It's beautiful from the inside. I don't recommend going outside, but people still do. Still gotta walk the dog, but plan for things. The weather, our weather doesn't happen just instantly. It takes time. So you can plan things to do. You can go to a pool, indoor pool. Do you know what I mean? There's so many options you can do as a family. And then you can discover things that maybe you didn't know before. And it helps to bond and build that support system. So when times get tough, you have that support. Does that make sense?
That sounds great. I love that. We'll come back to that plan outdoor activities at the end because I have a resource for that.
Oh, awesome. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, encourage sensory play. So a lot of the clients I work with, some of them are on the spectrum, have ADHD, that kind of thing. But I find any kid I always try to promote using more than one sense. So you're not just using your eyes, not just using your hands, but your sense of smell, your sense of touch, your hearing, all different things. And kids love that. Well, some kids, not all kids, I should say. Some kids don't like to get dirty. Other kids love it, like Play-Doh, playing the kinetic sand stuff is awesome stuff. Cooking in the kitchen, giving them, stuff. Let's make something today. Let's cook something. Let's make some cookies, or I'll show you how to do this. Show you how a measuring cup works, what that means. And we don't just buy the cookies from the package of the store. They have to be made somewhere. So let's make our own. We can put whatever we want in them. Wouldn't that be fun? If you want to put
and that is
27
fun.
chocolate chips on there, put 27 chocolate chips on there,
Yeah, and then they're not only doing their sensory play and they're bonding with you, they're doing their mathematics and they're doing cause and effect, if they don't raise, oh, we didn't put the baking soda in or, whatever. Or eggs
or you put it in by mistake.
yeah. Or right now, eggs cost a lot in the United States. I don't know about Canada. So maybe,
Yes.
maybe you're going to try with, a different replacement for the eggs. So just problem solving. That's part of just growing up too. We need to problem solve.
Absolutely. And a sense of accomplishment. They created something, they put all these ingredients together and look what they made. That's incredible. Next time we'll
Yes.
make it again, but we'll change something, or you've done cookies. Let's do cupcakes, let's kind of build from there, kind of a thing.
I love that. I love that. And, you mentioned screen-free meals. I mean, like literally you shouldn't have that at the table. I mean, we would really limit that when the kids were at home. And again, we're empty nesters at this point. So sometimes conversation is slow. So we might pick up our phones, but I am just saying, have that screen-free time, like you said, it was 10, 15, 20 minutes. They can totally do that. And I love that focus on families time. I mean, we don't want to get rid of our traditions or our routines and replace it with screens. The older I get, the more I appreciate people in general. So, you just being present, be present in the time that you have with those people. It's so important.
Yeah, mindfulness is really, I don't want to say popular, but I mean, it's really become a new focus because I think it's in replacement of some of the things that are happening, being mindful, being in the moment, being aware. I practice that every time I'm tutoring with my students in the moment. They bring up a question. Oh, let's find out, that's really
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I learn things as well as the student, and it helps everything at the same time.
Yes, I
Yeah,
would
that
agree with
ties
that.
into focusing on family time. Same thing. So focusing on the families are important, regardless of what form or what or shape or form that they are in, which is, can be anything these days for sure. But focus on and how important that family time. Like what is a family? Why is it important? It's a support system. It's, why do you have this funny, why do you wear your hair a certain way? Oh, she always does that. Oh, really? She did that too? You know what I mean? Like why do I like pickles? Why don't I like pickles? Because it seems to be a family thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah, I love that.
all the quirks that you have, and everybody has them. Some they admit, some they don't.
Right, exactly. Some of them we don't want to share, but the pickles thing, that's a good one. That is a good one.
Exactly. So, is there if I change screen?
Yeah,
Okay. And last two, make a snack. Sometimes you're just hungry. You want to look at those other senses you have. Maybe you're just thirsty. Maybe you're just hungry. Maybe, that's why you're getting frustrated more than you normally would when you're on your screen or playing a video game. Take a break and have something to eat and kind of address your other senses and your body telling you that you need something else as well. Does that make
I
sense?
love that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
And
then that transitional activity. So I don't know what activity that would be, but for us with my students and even with my grandchildren, if we're going to have a transition, we'll say, all right, in 5 minutes, we're going to do this. In 4 minutes, we're going to do this. In 1 minute, we're going to do this. And just building up that we're actually going to put this away now. And my granddaughter doesn't really have screen time, but she does have a Tony, the box that you can listen to the stories with the characters, and she loves that. So sometimes that has to be like stopped. And then sometimes we'll sit down for like a movie night, but we won't watch the whole movie. We're okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to stop the movie. And the next time we have movie time, we can come back to the movie and we can start about the same spot. Okay. So we'll come back to it, but we're going to end it right now because it's time for us all to get on, we have our pajamas on. It's time for us to go to bed. And so you're setting the child up for success. You're not saying that we're not ever going to come back to it, but we're just going to end it right now.
absolutely. And you're teaching them, time management, setting expectations, and they know exactly what's coming. And the trick is sometimes for parents is to hold fast to those those time limits too. I mean, don't I know it's tough. It's tough. Honestly, I've been there, done that, giving in, oh, I'll just give you another minute. It's like, well, that minute's not just going to be a minute. It's going to be another half hour. It's going to be another hour. And then you might as well just throw that out the window. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's the hard part is sticking to it.
It is. It is. And I think, that's for parents and for educators and anybody that works with people. It is just really hard and never, and this was how, this was something I learned along the way. I think I took a class on behavior management early in my early days of teaching, and I carried it into my parenting. Do not say that you're going to do something and then not follow through, because then you lose the credibility. So if you say that in 5 minutes, we're putting that away, you must follow through, so that they understand that the rules are the rules. And we don't have to be so strict in our rules, but I mean, if there's a consequence, especially, to definitely follow through. No, don't say something that you're not
Absolutely.
going to follow through on.
That's a great social skill to teach kids as well, following through and setting expectations and having them, be accountable to things, that sort of thing, setting limits, because that's what the way life is. It's not a free for all, unfortunately. We have to share the planet with a bunch of other people that we need to get
Yeah.
along or things go wrong.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tough. It's really tough. And so as we were going through and kind of preparing for this, we were both kind of looking for I apologize for my cough there. We were looking for some resources, and before we get to that,
Oh, sorry.
uh, no, that's okay. That's okay. I will actually go ahead and go there, because the one that says why kids are so addicted to screens, I'm going to link that when I share this, because we have some tips that were even more like some general guidelines on there. So, like
Yeah,
for children younger than 18 months, there should be no screen time. There just shouldn't be. They need to be hearing your voice, interacting with you, building their vocabulary. And then it goes all the way up to what to do with the 2 to 5, 6 years and older, and then teens, and then, just talking about online citizenship. So I will make sure that I link that
Yeah, I will do that as
for
well. Absolutely.
parents.
Definitely.
And
I'll
then
put it on mine too.
when
Yeah.
you were talking about outside time,
Yeah.
that 1000 hours outside podcast, I do not know if that is the same person that does the 1000 hours outside Facebook page. I'm not sure if they're the same person, but they are both give great ideas for things to do to be unplugged. Our kids need to get back to nature. I mean, like, it's so interesting because I do my tutoring online, just, and it's because of where I live. It is not because it's the only way to do it. I mean, it's just the mere fact is that for me to drive somewhere and come back, I would be wasting a lot of energy. So I do meet with my students online. But when we're reading stories, and I'm referring to, you know, seeing the sights or whatever. Some of the kids don't even know what seeing the sights means. And I'm like, well, that's like being outside and looking around at the things around you. And or there might be a vocabulary word that's just a really common everyday word that they would maybe come across if they were just out and about, but they don't know it because they're not out. They're on their tablets.
Oh yeah, they're watching other people go out and about.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that the podcast would be a great place for parents to start if they're really struggling. And then a couple of other things that I will also share. And these you don't have to watch them. They were just things that popped up inside of my search. ABC News, and most of these were like three years old. It was kind of like during like pandemic times where everybody was like inside on their tablet, whatever. But they were talking about the consequences of endless screen time. And the other one was the impact of screen time and what's at stake. And they weren't just about kids. They were also about adults and how this was impacting adults. And one of them, and I can't remember which one it was, but it went into how a woman was so addicted to her online gaming time. And she wasn't doing just a puzzle game. She was like gambling. And so she was literally willing to walk away from her family for this addiction. And so I think it's bigger than maybe what even you and I know, just from just the research that we've done. And so if you're looking for a resource for your own child, Scholastic has put out it's just a little downloadable. It's a PDF. Help. I can't put my phone down. It could be your device, but like literally getting them to see what this is doing to them. Yeah, definitely check that out. You know what? We just had Julia Cook on, and then I think she even had a book on cell phones or devices or something like that. So
Yeah,
look
I
her
think she
up because
did. And I
I did
remember
not.
her, I meant to link it in. Maybe I'll find the timestamps from her video, from her interview as well. She had talked about how she uses visuals to help kids understand devices and things like that, and how to put it away and that kind of thing. So I'll look that up as well.
Yeah, and we can even link back to um, her online resources because she's got what do I want to call it? Like a hub of materials. It's basically a website. You can listen to her read the books, and then she gives you hands-on things that you can do with the children. It is a paid site, but it's only $5 a month. So for the whole year, you can have $60 worth of her materials, and they're outstanding. And, helping kids understand their behaviors and working through some of these things, she would be a great resource. I think with any author, you have to find what works for you, and maybe you'll tend to like some of her books more than others, but she's done the legwork and she's really worked with a lot of other professionals to create great resources. So she would be somebody I would recommend looking at.
Right. I just thought of something too. It just kind of tweaked my mushy brain into a second.
Your brain
Um,
is not mushy.
No, I know. I hope sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I walk to the fridge. I have no idea what I went there for, but that happens. But I was just thinking, ultimately, I know we're talking about devices and kids and their behaviors, but ultimately it's not the kids' fault. Like we said, it's by design that these things are created, and they're doing what they're intended to do. And our children need us to help them to, not combat, but just to deal with it and cope with it and understand it a little better, and know that that's not the be all end all. If they didn't get 1,000 likes like their friend did on something, that's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? We need to know that other things have value as well. I think that's a really important message to take away.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you.
And I didn't even write
So,
that down. That just came into my brain.
well, see, we have a lot more that we could add to this subject, but
Oh,
I think, I think what we've done is we've created a dialogue for people to be thinking about it. And I know that if they have questions or comments, I hope that they'll leave them in the discussion, down below. Start the discussion. We don't have the answers. I am not a trained psychologist or counselor. We're just talking about it. We see it in our practices, and we see it with our children and our grandchildren and with society in general. And, just raising that alarm of like, let's maybe take another look at this and see if we can't go back to some of the basics, get those kids outside. We need to get outside. Vitamin D is great for us. It's great for our bodies. It's great for our minds, our souls, and maybe make a commitment to spending less time on our phones. Yeah.
I do.
Guilty.
I will make that commitment. Honestly, it's something I'm noticing, and I'm not, I'm supposed to be an adult and understand the difference between all this stuff, but I don't sometimes.
It's tough. It really is. And like we were talking about that dopamine, that's important. No, we're ready to say like and
Please
subscribe.
subscribe. Please subscribe. That would be amazing because we want to keep doing what we're doing and
Yeah.
doing these deep dives and sharing this amazing information that we learn from as well. Like some of this I had no idea. And some of this like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But sharing this information is so valuable to parents, to teachers, to tutors, to anybody, to children, to anybody, living on this planet can benefit from this.
Yes, and do your own searches online. Look for resources that are out there. There's so many that are out there. Of course, using technology to solve a technology problem, but set a timer on your microwave, on your phone, on your like if you have one of those little egg timers, and just say 10 minutes, and then I'm going to be done
Oh, and kids,
because
I find my students love those egg timer things. They love the sound of them
yeah.
and the ticking and then the bling. They love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as usual, I always enjoy having these conversations with you, Tina. And yes, we do want to say thanks for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe, leave your comments, and we'll be back next month with another topic.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to stop share for a second. There we go. Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See you next time.
Yeah, absolutely.